The Supreme Court heard oral arguments Wednesday in the most significant abortion case in a generation. Abortion providers in Texas, led by Whole Woman's Health, have challenged provisions of a sweeping anti-choice law passed by the Texas state legislature in 2013, despite a people's filibuster and an 11-hour stand by Texas State Senator Wendy Davis. The provisions at stake force abortion clinics to meet the standards of hospital-style surgery centers and require providers to obtain admitting privileges at a nearby hospital, a task many can't achieve, in part due to anti-choice sentiment. Similar restrictions have passed in multiple other states. Already, with the law partially in place, about half of the more than 40 abortion clinics in Texas have closed. If the law comes into full effect, the second largest state in the U.S. could be left with just 9 or 10 clinics.
With the death of Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia less than 3 weeks ago, the Supreme Court has only 8 justices, making it unlikely the case would set a national precedent restricting abortion and opening the way for a 4-4 tie. Such a tie could leave in place a lower court ruling largely upholding the Texas law, potentially impacting other states in the same appeals court circuit, Mississippi, which has just 1 abortion clinic, and Louisiana, where a similar admitting privileges law threatens to close all but 1 clinic in the state. The stakes were high Wednesday when attorney Stephanie Tote stood before the Supreme Court to represent the Texas abortion providers. It was her first time ever arguing a case at the Supreme Court. After the argument, she addressed reporters outside.
Texas abortion clinics have a documented history of safety that goes back for decades. There is absolutely no evidence of any substandard provider in Texas. Those clinics are subject to rigorous scrutiny by state officials. They are inspected at least once a year and often more than that. And the evidence in the record shows that those inspections demonstrate that these clinics have been operating safely. And further, the law gives Texas regulators the tools they would need to shut down a substandard provider. The State Department of Health can come in at any time and issue a clinic closure order. If it really believed that these clinics weren't safe, it had the authority under existing law to shut them down. These laws have nothing to do with safety. These laws are simply about stopping women from accessing their constitutionally protected right to abortion.
Stephanie Tote, who argued the Supreme Court case Whole Woman's Health versus Hellerstedt, speaking outside the Supreme Court Wednesday. Well, as the arguments went on inside, a few thousand people packed onto the sidewalk outside the Supreme Court. At the center of the crush was an anti-choice rally surrounded on 3 sides by pro-choice demonstrators. Speaking on both sides tried to drown each other out. The supporters of Whole Woman's Health chanted, "Stop the sham," a reference to what they say is a false claim that Texas abortion regulations are aimed at protecting women's health. Many supporters wore bright purple, the official color of Whole Woman's Health. Well, Democracy Now! Was there at the Supreme Court Wednesday. The journey began early as Democracy Now!'s Amy Littlefield got ready to board a bus in New York.
Today, the Supreme Court is hearing the most important abortion rights case in almost 25 years. We're here in front of the Center for Reproductive Rights in New York City. That's the organization that's arguing the case before the Supreme Court today. It's about 3:45 in the morning. It's dark, it's raining, and we're about to get on a bus with a bunch of activists who are headed down to D.C. to rally in front of the Supreme Court and show their support for abortion rights. Let's get on the bus. What's your name and what are you doing on this bus at 4 o'clock in the morning?
Hi, I'm Monica Dragaman. I am a woman, I am an obstetrician gynecologist, and I also am an abortion provider. And I'm here because I support women's ability to self-determine and decide when and if they want to have a family. And it's a privilege to do the work that I do. It's a privilege to take care of the women that I interact with, and there's really no more important place to be today than on this bus.
So it's about 4 hours later. We're still on the bus, headed into D.C., and everyone's getting ready to rally.
Repro rights are under attack. What do? Stand up, fight back. Repro rights are under attack. What do? Stand up, fight back.
So we've arrived here in Washington, D.C. We've gotten off the bus, and we're heading over to the Supreme Court.
Stop the sham! Stop
name is Sonia Renee Taylor. I am a performance poet, an activist, and an unapologetic woman who has had an abortion. Let me say that again. I am an unapologetic woman who has had an abortion. I was a 20-year-old college sophomore putting myself through school when I got pregnant. I reject the narrative that there must be some externally decided good enough reason for any of us to access safe, legal, professional, compassionate abortion care and services. I do not owe the Texas legislature, anti-choice fearmongers, or even the Supreme Court of the United States any explanation as to why I had an abortion.
Next up is Andrea Ferrigno, Corporate Vice President at Whole Woman's Health, the lead plaintiff in the abortion case.
I am so thankful. For so long, we felt as providers so alone, and to see all of you here come bear witness how we bring our case to the Supreme Court is just unbelievable. Thank you. Thank you. As a Hispanic immigrant from Latin America, I know what it's like not to have access to safe, legal abortion care in an environment where women's voices matter. This is why this work is so important for me on both a professional and personal level. But I have also witnessed firsthand how laws like HB 2 can force clinics to shut down. I think about the woman on the phone that begged me to see her after her clinic was shut down by this law. And I still remember the desperation in her voice when she said, "Please, please just see me. I won't tell anyone. Why can you just see me, please?" And not having a logical answer to her because there's no logic behind this.
Could you say your full name and where you're from?
My name is Rose Barnes Covenant, and I'm from Washington, D.C. Our generation has spent a lot of time thinking that progress has been made, and it's being taken from us. And if we don't stand up now, we're not going to have a choice. There are a lot of women here that did this work in the 70s, and I think my generation thinks this is old news, and now we're slowly seeing an erosion of our rights where it's harder to fight if they take it piece by piece, and it's finally gotten to a point where people have to stand up, and if not, we'll go back to the 60s.
Springfield, Virginia.
And why are you here today?
I'm here because in the 70s and 80s, when I had to worry about my reproductive health, I was able to do so. I don't think it's right for people with a lot of money to be able to fly to a different state to get an abortion. Access, it's all about access. I had access, these girls should have access. I can't believe we're still fighting this.
My name is Dr. Sarah Immershine, and I am an abortion provider. I performed my first abortion as a routine procedure in 1980 during my internship at New York's Bellevue Hospital. My professors, my mentors, remembered wards filled with injured and infected women and the many women who died before abortion was legal and available. We must not forget their stories or their lives, and we must remember women will seek abortion even when it is illegal. Abortion is medical, not political. Abortion is medical, not political.
My name is Brenda Pearl. I'm an activist, I'm an African American, and I'm a woman. And I'm a student from Ohio. And I'm here to share my story. In the summer of 2014, I became pregnant. I was planning to continue my studies that fall. And having a baby at that time in my life would have derailed my plans and goals. I had just enough money for books with not a cent more. I also had a life path in front of me, a path I longed to follow. For that reason, I chose to have an abortion. It was one of the hardest decisions I ever made, but in the end, it was a decision to determine the fate of my life. The state of Ohio makes it very difficult for women to access safe, legal abortion. First, you have to schedule an appointment to receive state-mandated information. It's misleading information that is meant to discourage you from having the abortion that is your constitutional right. They also make you have an ultrasound, even after you already probably had an ultrasound. It was painful to feel I was pressured to listen to the heartbeat. Then you have to wait 24 hours to come back, and the procedure itself. Personally, the biggest obstacle was paying for the abortion, except in extreme cases, you have to pay for it yourself. I am sharing my story with you today to raise my voice about the protection of safe, legal abortions. And also about truth, free will, healing, and freedom. Thank you.
Ohio student Brenda Pearl speaking outside the Supreme Court Wednesday. When we come back, we'll hear from pro- and anti-choice sides of the issue outside the Supreme Court as the justices heard the most important case on abortion in a generation. Back in a minute.